Hi all, thank you very much for BIM Coordinators Summit to allow us to talk a little bit about digital for us research. We are working on BIM potential for occupational safety and health management. We are an academic industry team from Portugal, from UK. We got ISWA from Portugal, Loughborough University from UK, University of Minho from Portugal, and our industrial partners, Xpoly and BIMS. This is our team, an executive team, and an advisory panel. And why BIM is important for OSH management? Well, accidents have considerable financial and logistical impact on companies. Technical, financial, a lot of impact in a company, whatever the dimension of the company is. Well, we know that there is usually a separation between production and prevention. It's always a agreement. But we also know that European directives say that we must take in account the state of evolution of the technique, namely in terms of information technologies. So this is where BIM appears. And we know that it has some potential to optimize our OSH management. Well, accidents in construction still occur. They have indirect and direct costs. We can discover what are the direct costs, but we are not usually able to define how much is the indirect cost, that it's usually very higher than the direct cost. And this is becoming very important because in the first term, there's someone that gets hurt or dead, and then we get all the consequences on that. We know this graphic, okay? We know the potential to influence and prevent construction injuries decreases exponentially as the project progresses. So the earlier we do in everything in BIM, the earlier we do, the more probability of success we achieve. Some colleagues and groups already made some research about this theme. It's not a new theme. Since 2011, there are some colleagues writing and researching about how can BIM be useful for us. Well, UK launched a specification, part 6 of 1192 PAS in 2018. For us, it's a milestone that it was achieved because it creates the rules about translating and information through a BIM way. And it creates information about risk information cycle, some implementation strategies, some information requisites implementation. How do we represent, and I think this is one of the big questions, how do we represent occupational safety and health things in a model, in the documents? Well, it talks about the common data environments, about the employer's information requirements, BIM execution plan. How can we include OSH data through this kind of instruments? And it gives some topics about the outputs that we must have using BIM for OSH, method statements, risk assessment, risk zones, work permits, temporary works, very important thing that is usually not included in design. Implementation strategies, they are defined for each one of the stakeholders. It tells us the strategy for project owner, strategy for designers, for contractors, for facility management, and for supply chain. I think if we are talking in terms of strategy for contractors, namely Tier 1, most big contractors, it has not the same difficulties that we have in small and medium enterprises. And I think that's one of the questions that will be one of the issues where we are going to have some difficulties in implementing BIM for us. In smaller companies that do not have the capacity, do not have the knowledge, they have lots of resistance, they have all the difficulties of the other companies, but in a larger spectrum. The specification informs us about how can we include OSH information in a model. So we can include it in the object, a parameter. For example, we have a parameter here called width. We can include whatever information we want in the object. We can include information that makes a connection between this object and the health and safety plan, health and safety files, some PDFs, some words, some images, whatever. We can include that information with no ending. We can create the parameters and then we can include it. It has the disadvantage that it's not visible in a model. So we got to click in an object to go to the OSH information. We can also, and there's some softwares already working on it, we can include the information in a model through a graphic way. We can include a triangle, a yellow triangle, to alert that in that place there is some kind of difficulty, there is a risk, and then people keep alert about this place. Well, but looking at the several areas where BIM can be useful for OSH, we can make a resume, and so we'll talk a little bit about those areas. The first is the documental and contractual management, and it's the same question as BIM in a general. We are working without BIM. Do we know that we have the most actual version of the doc? Perhaps the files are incompatible. Perhaps there are some clashes, some duplication. There's a language barrier where with BIM in OSH also we can use that kind of instrument methodology. For example, using the common data environment to centralize and organize the documents of the workers, of the equipment, of the health and safety plan or health and safety file. And there are some providers, some software providers also working on that, Autodesk BIM 360 Field. Cost control. Without BIM, we cannot automatically make the cost control. With BIM, we are able to keep OSH budget as a separate item. So we are going to make a specific OSH elements measurement, guardrails, signaling, and then we can get a budget for each one of these things, and in an easy way, in an Excel, extract a budget, automated budget for our OSH components. Risk management, and it is thought now that the one of the main features of the BIM for OSH, it's optimizing our risk management. It's more easy to begin OSH approach in the design phase because we already have a model in the design phase, and we get a better capacity of identifying hazards, risks, preventive measures, critical zones, critical times, condition risks. Okay, we can also automatize risk assessments. Okay, because if we got in our product, we've got data about how high is the risk level, okay, and I get this information about in the product data, then it's more easy to calculate what will be the level of risks present in each activity. Training, well, not new. Finland, for example, VTT is doing this for 12 years, and we know without BIM, we have the language barrier. We got static, passive, and non-realistic trainings, and with BIM we can give a little bit more realistic, with no language barrier training. Site planning, construction site and temporary facilities are usually not included in a model. And with BIM, it's more easy to create in the 3D model construction site that is common part of the model, we get the space and volume optimization. We can look at the model in several periods of times, and see critical times, critical shadows. We can see better conditionalism if you got traffic in the outdoors in the neighborhood. We can create safety perimeters. So kind of simple things that can be created, but that are more easy for risk to be seen. Task safety planning. With BIM, we can really overpass some of the difficulties that we have when we don't work with BIM, and it's difficult to work without BIM because planning not always is very close to safety. Here, when I do in the 3D model a guardrail, when I see where there is a fall from high risk, then it's more easy to make my safety planning. And all, of course, planning changes are going to be automatically safety changes, OS changes. Monitoring the site, it's more easy if I know what it's predicted to be built. I get anticipated visualization. I can compare better what is done and what should be done. Collective protection, also Finnish colleagues working this very hard since some years ago. It's more clear for us to see if we really use this 3D kind of image, and we can plan more optimistically with emergency planning. We can with BIM, we can make emergency scenarios. We can expose to workers automatic way evacuation routes. We can train rescue procedures. Accident investigation. It's one of the less used areas in BIM for OSH, for reconstruction of scenarios, better understanding of the framework of the accident, what happened and how it happened. So we got some uses that can be, we can have BIM. Using identifying potential site hazards before construction begins, it's really, and I think it's common to several technologies, augmented reality, virtual reality. It's one of the best potentials to understand the risks before it happens. Applying BIM for OSH, it's going to provoke a need of upgrading skills and requalification in the companies, general skills, specific physical skills, socio-emotional skills, also from health and safety actors that are going to work with the 3D model and the common data environments. It's kind of a paradigm. We got some challenges, as usually BIM is not compulsory. It's going to happen some resistance, some learning curves. We've got to make step by step in order to keep the focus in integrating OSH information through BIM. Our group, Digital for OSH, opted now to create a BIM for OSH observatory, a BIM for Occupational Safety and Health observatory. We want to observe what is happening in the other countries, and we want to disseminate knowledge, namely for less mature countries. We want to disseminate the knowledge that more mature countries have. Okay, so this is our first objective in order to help countries that are not used to work in BIM for OSH. So we put here 2 research questions in our project. What is the current state of BIM adoption for OSH in each country and how it can be measured? And how can lessons learned be retrieved, stored, disseminated, and replicated to industry? So we got 2 main focus for the observatory. We want to work in its the first element from the observatory, a collaborative platform that online is going to host information. And I am a user from Ireland. I can use this kind of access to retrieve information about the two parts that I'm going to talk a little bit now. So the idea of understanding what are the trends, the progress, the dynamics of the implementation of BIM for us, we call it element 2 a barometer. So we want to observe and monitor in the several countries in a longitudinal way, in a 3-year way, creating metrics that can measure BIM implementation in each country, also helping making some benchmarking. We are going to implement this through surveys, okay, asking people what are they implementing and what kind of acceptance do they have about this implementation, in order to understand what areas of BIM are the most useful and what areas are not useful. So we can pick then in the results of each country and understand what is the position of them within Europe. And we can pick the several areas of BIM uses and understand in what areas the BIM is most useful in those terms. Then we go to the second part of the observatory, that is capture and disseminate lessons learned and best practice from projects that are already implemented. It's kind of creating a book of knowledge covering BIM uses for OSH implementation. So we are going to have the possibility of a country that has a good experience in terms of BIM for OSH training that can, through some kind of facts, implement and making available the information for other colleagues. So this is our idea, to disseminate, to transfer knowledge between countries that are well mature to other countries that are not so mature in terms of BIM for us. This is our idea of observatory, and we are available to discuss with any colleague that want to talk a little bit about this. Any country that wants to implement this, you are certainly welcome. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and now I got some period for question and answers. Thank you.